Everybody, Jim Masters here. Our next guest on the Jim Masters Show, Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series, is veteran television actor, film, stage, everything. He's done it all, continues to do it all. He's been doing it for well over 40 years. Tony Amendola is joining us from Los Angeles. He's originally an East Coast kid. He grew up in New Haven, Connecticut. He likes his pizza. But let me tell you, he has done and continues to do everything. He's one of those actors where you've seen him on so many TV shows and film and on stage, and he has been a part of our lives for decades. Again, a near 40-year veteran of film and television with so many incredible film credits as well. The Mask of Zorro, of course, Lone Star, Annabelle, The Meddler with Susan Sarandon, and of course on television, ABC's Once Upon a Time, and Stargate. Of course, his involvement with Stargate is legendary, and so much more. Dexter, Law and Order, Seinfeld, The Practice, Will and Grace, Shooter. He also spent many years in professional life in theater. He is a theater actor as well, and an extraordinary one. But again, you have seen this face in your life for many, many years in so many roles. Well, this one here, this goes back to Stargate, brings back some memories for you, doesn't it, folks? Absolutely. And take a look at this. This was with Johnny Depp. This was Blow. This goes back to 2001. That was another terrific one as well. He's been in everything, truly. He's one of those actors and a great character actor that people call upon all the time because he gets it done. This, of course, The Mask of Zorro, another fantastic classic. Here's another great one, too. Yeah, this is The Curse. Alona, you probably recall it. Look at that face, huh? He knows how to make a face. New Life as well, another fantastic one. These are probably bringing back some memories for you, folks. And he's a prolific actor. I mean, he's constantly acting. He's constantly called upon. Lone Star, this was with a great group, Christopherson and company. And this was a beautiful role on Once Upon a Time. Gepetto, Pinocchio's father. This was really, this was very moving, very touching. Look at this. Dexter. Absolutely. Annabelle. Remember that one too? He was, he was in that. You're probably like, oh, that's right. Tony Amendola was in that too. Yes, he was. And this one too. Devil's Candy. Just a few of them we're showing you here too. And of course, in Warcraft, this iconic character, which we're going to talk about, and so much more. Yep. This one too is Continuum, Eduardo. And here's another. He's been involved in this. You know, he does a lot of voice work too for animation characters and video, which is really cool. And as we mentioned, New Life, and look at that shot. He, again, is an extraordinary, gifted actor who's been doing it for a long time. And he is an East Coast kid that, again, made good out in L.A. And we are very excited to have him here. I am talking to the one and only Tony Amendola, television, film, stage star, here on the Jim Masters Show. Tony, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. Lovely to be here, Jim.
The pleasure is all mine. So how's the weather out there? It's a little nippy back home on the East Coast.
Ooh, you know, I miss snow one day a year. To this day, I envy you that one day of snow that you had recently. And now, well, today it was sunny and 75, sort of. So it's
not too shabby.
Not too shabby, quite. But you know, it's weird. We're getting on to Christmas, and so we're supposed to get some rain on Christmas. And I think, you know, as long as it's within reason, it's not dangerous for people, I welcome it myself.
Next time we're going to come out there and do the show in the 75-degree weather.
There you go. You're welcome.
Change it up. You grew up in Connecticut in the great city of New Haven, home to great pizza and so much more. We were just talking about that. And what were some of those early inspirations? We were just showing an extraordinary brief list of your legendary body of work in television, film, and I know the theater has been near and dear to your heart over these many years as well. But for you, how did it all begin in good old New Haven, Connecticut. What were the inspirations? Did you have family members who were in the arts as well who inspired you, or were you the breakout kid? How did it happen for you growing up in New Haven?
Yeah. I was the black sheep of a very gray family, to quote H. Monroe. There was nothing like that in my family. Not a lick of that type of the artistic path, if you will. And I, on some levels, that was sort of wonderful because it meant I had a normal childhood. I didn't get involved in acting until I was in college, and it was more of a social, a place to be. I didn't know. I went to college and I was sort of lost. It was unusual. I was the first one. And when you're the first one in the family to go to college, it's law and medicine. Well, I took some pre-law sort of courses, and I realized immediately that wasn't for me, and stumbled into an audition, and started doing plays. As much as I said socially to be around a group, theater's very welcoming. It's a very, they talk politically of a big tent. Theater is an incredibly big tent. There's very different people who coexist and put on a show. It's really remarkable. We could use it as a sort of as a sort of image for society, and we do a lot better, I think. But
was the audition for The Tempest?
Yeah, it was for The Tempest, oddly enough. And saying it was an audition is really, really is really an exaggeration, because I went to a school that was a teacher's college, the first school, and it meant there were probably 4 women to each man. So if you could walk, you were cast in the play. And as fortune would have it, though, the director of that play happened to be the acting teacher at the Yale Drama School for about 35 or 40 years, named Constance Welch. And she worked with me during lunch hour because I had a tiny role, the mariner, and I still remember the first line I ever said on stage because I think about it. And it's sort of a catch line for the life of an actor. And it was, all is lost to prayers, all is lost. That was my first line, in the dark, because there's a big tempest going on.
Right.
So, but she would work with me, and I understudied several characters, including Dan Lauria, who I don't know if you've had on the show. He's another back east sort of guy. Wonder Years, those wonderful
fantastic guy. Yeah.
Because he was a football player and he was liable to blow out his knee any day.
We haven't had him yet, but we would love to.
So anyway, that it was social, and eventually, kept doing it, and I went to the other blessing is it was New Haven. So my early experiences of seeing theater were not at high school or in grammar school. I had never been to a play. I have a funny story about the first film of a play that I went to, which perhaps we'll get to later. But Yale Rep and Long Wharf were within walking distance. And when you're in that lost stage of who am I, coming out of your high school into a college and being an adult, there are many nights, weekend nights, where you're thinking, what do I do with my time? Who am I? Do I just go out? I've done the going out with my friends, drinking sort of thing. That's not me. And I would go to the theater. And there were 2 wonderful theaters in New Haven, Long Wharf and Yale Rep, 2 distinct personalities of what their viewpoint on the purpose of theater, very, very different. And so my earliest experiences were seeing actors like Meryl Streep, Sigourney Weaver, Christopher Walken, John Lithgow, John Cazale, incredible people. That's who I saw. And more importantly, I realized that in the midst of the nervousness and lost sense of adolescence and young manhood, I could go to a play. I didn't know what it was. It could take place in a little Irish village. I could go to that play, and when I came out, I could sit in a room with 400, 500 people. And when I came out, I somehow felt better. I somehow felt more at ease. I was part of a group. There was something, I guess my point is, I learned there was something medicinal about theater for the people who experience it. Gradually I kept doing it, and I ended up going to Philadelphia to really get training, in a conservatory at Temple, and do what every new East Coast actor does. I moved to New York and expected my life to be in New York. Well, we make plans and the gods laugh, because immediately 2 months later, I was hired to go to Ashland. Ashland, Oregon is a really prestigious Shakespeare festival.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that was often you go to these training programs, Yale, Juilliard, Temple, North Carolina School of the Arts, and you study the great classics, and you come out and someone hands you the copy, the lines from a commercial. They have no bearing on that. You haven't really been trained to do that. Whereas my experience is, for the next 15 years, I actually got to do what I was trained to do in grad school. And I had an MFA in case I needed to teach. A terminal degree, they would call it. We used to joke about that. That was a wonderful thing. So I didn't go to LA until I was nearly 40. But I worked all the time. I worked, there were many years where I was part of companies, which meant I had a seasonal contract from September to May or beginning of June, and summers I'd do a Shakespeare festival or do something. And that was very unusual. It was exhausting too, by the way, but it was challenging. And it was only then, after having all that experience, frankly, and the experience of getting to grow with, great demands of language, of ideas, Brecht, Shakespeare, Ibsen, Chekhov, Strindberg, Mamet, just tons of Williams and Miller, and all of a sudden you get to play roles that you're right for and you're not right for, which means when you're not right for something, you really have to dig. It's not like you can just show up and, they read it into you. And so it was terrific training. It was only then that I went to LA, because I thought to myself, at the time, I'm a 20th century actor, and to deny the existence of film and television and think one could only make a life in the theater was not really what I wanted. I wasn't that arrogant. I didn't feel like, there is an arrogance in the theater that says film and television is not real acting, that the theater is real acting.
The theater, yes.
The theater. And by the way, there's a similar arrogance in film and television, thinking, they're just doing theater, And I never had either of those. And I had many years of going back and forth, and it was really, really interesting, because I could be a fly on the wall. I could be in a room with all my theater actor friends and hear them disparage film and television actors. And then 2 days later, over a beer, saying, hey, just let me ask you something. What are the 3 performances that touched you the most? What were the ones that really, really got to you? And invariably, they were film roles. They were not theater roles.
Yes.
And I say, aha, So,
who are the people that you were admiring, the fellow actors, actresses, those veterans, those folks who were doing it already, that maybe you looked up to, that maybe even mentored you, but that inspired you along the way?
Well, it's funny. It's really interesting you say that, because you think, coming from New Haven and everything back east, that it would be, I guess what I'm saying is, initially it wasn't who you would think. It wasn't originally Pacino, De Niro, Hoffman, Christopher Walken. It wasn't those initially. Actually more Walken, because it was more theater people. It was more seeing great performances in the theater. So, of course, which led me to admire, because I was trained in a more classical sense and did a bunch of repertory theater. It was the great rep actors, the Jonathan Pryces, the Oliviers, the Anthony Hopkins, who, amazingly, I got a chance to work with. It was all of those. Oh God, what's his name? I can't. Oh God, who's the great?
Want to phone a friend?
Yeah, phone a friend. I need
Yeah.
that. I'm thinking he was in the PBS series about the monk.
Oh, yes. Yes.
His name is right on the. He's a great classical actor. I can't believe I've forgotten his name. He'll forgive me. Anyway, Branagh. It was more of a British thing because our tradition was not really that. It was only later that, I really sort of, got into Miller, and all of a sudden I had a, chance to do, A View from the Bridge, to do Eddie Carbone, which really was in many ways my experience, my youth. I knew those guys. My dad was one of those guys, salt of the earth sort of people. Yeah. So it was only later that I guess what I'm saying is, oddly, I was in a rarefied world, as different as you can imagine from my own life experience. That's not unusual in the theater, by the way. All of a sudden you got this, kid from a small town in Texas who's doing Chekhov. Well, there's the human experience that goes across everything, but there are some differences that you have to give the illusion of being that person from Russia, if that's what you're going for. There are other things you have to experience and study, that it can't all come just from here. So that's what it was. But eventually, I got to De Niro, and I got to see Pacino on stage several times, and I have to say, you don't appreciate him until you see him on stage, because you realize just how funny he is.
Yes.
What a wonderful clown he is. In addition to being that manic sort of, I saw him do a bunch of different things. And De Niro I never did see on stage, but Walken I saw a bunch of times on stage. And he was very, very interesting, because to me, and the first time I saw him, I was in school. And whether you know it or not, when you're in school, it gives you a certain rigidity. There's a way of doing things. You all of a sudden are closed off, and there's a way, depending upon who your teachers are. There's a way, and some actors break the rules, and and watching Christopher Walken again in Caligula at Yale Rep, and Miss Julie at Long Wharf. Initially, you're going, you almost pull back from him when you're a young studying actor. And then the second act comes, and then the third act comes, and then all of a sudden you're just mesmerized by him, because he breaks the rules. Because acting is a kind of puzzle that you're trying to get to a core of humanity and a core of something, and like anything else, you can go at it from the outside, from the inside. Nobody cares as long as you get there. And he had a very, very unique way of getting at it. And so, I was really influenced by so many different people and mentors. And probably the most important thing was the opportunity to work. And I was very fortunate, like I said, to be able to go to Ashland, because I did 2 years of rep there. Mm-hmm. Then went on Seattle, did a year in Seattle, and then joined the company in Berkeley for 10 years. And it was in Berkeley that I really, began directing as well as acting, and doing a bunch of different things. And I met wonderful, wonderful actors who are friends now, and people that, gave me great opportunities, challenged me. I'm thinking of the artistic director of Berkeley Rep, the founding director, someone named Michael Liber8. I'm thinking of, Joy Carlin, Sharon Oth. These are all names that no one in the audience, very few in the audience would know. Dakin Matthews, incredibly, a Shakespearean scholar who you can't argue with as an actor, because he's even a better an actor than he is a Shakespearean scholar. So he taught me an enormous amount about Shakespeare, an enormous amount. And it was only with that I eventually arrived in LA. And for me, that was the right journey because I was never selling beauty. There's some people who need to be in LA when they're young. That was not me. I was a character man. I don't think they would have known what to do with me if I had been here when I was young. Somehow I played, when I was in college, the second play I was in, I played a 15-year-old. And after that, I never played anyone under 35. It was just the way, I looked at it.
It all worked out, right?
Yeah, it worked out great. There's no, I have no, Jim, people understand two things. I'll be curious to see. I'm sorry, perhaps I'm talking too much.
No, it's fantastic. Yeah.
People understand two things about actors. They understand star and they understand starving. They don't understand the middle class. They don't understand the people who, I live in a very nice, small home in Los Angeles with my wife, and we have in many ways, a normal life. And oddly, people will misinterpret that and think, oh, well, hang in there. Hang in there. I'm in the 93rd percentile of my, to explain to people that on any given week, more than 90% of the union actors are unemployed. So to have had this life, to close this, to have had this life with this amount of work over the years, and this challenging work, not without its problems, has been a blessing. And I couldn't be more grateful.
Absolutely, and continues to be, because listen, folks, to just a few. I mentioned in the introduction just a few of the things that our very special guest Tony Amendola has been a part of, starting out in 1984 with television, looking at television first. Partners in Crime for you first, right, Tony?
Very first, yeah.
Emilio Ortega was the
That's
role.
right.
Episode was Fantasyland. He's also been in L.A. Law, Columbo, The Revenge of Al Capone, Dark Avenger, Hunter, She-Wolf of London, False Arrest, Seinfeld, The Cisco Kid, Space Above and Beyond, Follow the River, Chicago Hope, another great series, Kindred the Embraced, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman back in 1997, Todd McFarlane's Spawn, he was on The Practice, of course, Stargate, SG1, we know that too, and Babylon and Crusade, Judging Amy, Star Trek Voyager, The X-Files, Angel, Family Law. This is just television, folks. CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, Charmed, Alias, The West Wing, Dragonstorm, Crimson Force, Pizza My Heart. Well, he's from New Haven. That he had to be in that. General Hospital, for those soap fans we have that watch the Jim Masters show. Dexter, Terminator, The Sarah Connor Chronicles, Numbers, CSI New York, Dollhouse, NCI Los Angeles, that is. I don't think they have a Vegas yet. Maybe they should. Borderline Murder, Once Upon a Time, Gepetto, of course, 13 episodes of that. Continuum, The Mentalist, that was another great series, and also CSI Cyber, When Duty Calls, Castlevania, Scandal, it's incredible. And Dirk Gentry's Holistic Detective Agency, Blacklist, Redemption, that was on NBC, Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, Bud Light, iCarly, for the iCarly fans, Blackbird, Law and Order, Organized Crime, 911, The Chosen, and that is just the short list. And his voice is all over the video game world, folks. World of Warcraft, Warlords of Draenor, Call of Duty, Fallout 4. His voice is in World of Warcraft Legion, World of Final Fantasy, as well as Just Cause 4, Star Wars 2, Jedi Fallen Order, Twin Mirror, World of Warcraft Shadowlands, Dragonfight from the World of Warcraft series, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and The War Within with World of Warcraft, Mafia, The Old Country. And that's just some of the video work with his incredible voice, his radio voice. I'm sure nobody ever tapped you to be on radio as an announcer.
No, but they've told me I have a face for radio. That's the old boy. We're getting to vaudeville now.
And the films too. Yeah, back in '85, Maxie, and then Wildfire, The Borrower, Wishman, The Hit List, Three of Hearts, Chameleon, Lone Star, The Mask of Zorro, Cradle of Rock, Crazy in Alabama, Blow, Johnny Depp, and Shady, One More Round. These are just some of them, folks. Forbidden Warrior, The Legend of Zorro, as well as The Perfect Sleep, Green Lantern, Emerald Knights, The Son of an Afghan Farmer, Annabelle, that was in 2014, Pizza, of course, but this is Pizza with Bullets, The Devil is Candy, The Land Before Time, Journey of the Brave, Santa Fe, Caged, Father Stew, Rebel Moon, New Life, and many more. That's just a short list, folks. It is an illustrious career. And when you look at it, are you ever saying, holy cow, this has gone beyond what I ever could have dreamed?
You know, it's funny. It never feels that way if you're an actor. This is probably an actor's thing. You know, you never feel like you are busy enough. You just think, why is it? I'm never going to work again. I don't know. And then, life happens. 30 years go by, and then you think, oh my God, I guess I have a lot to be grateful for, because, I know many actors who are much more talented than I am, who didn't have the opportunities that I had. It has to do with so many, luck plays a part. Luck, persistence, and talent, and being ready. Just being ready.
And not necessarily in that order either, right?
No, absolutely.
Sometimes it can be. How did this role come your way in Stargate?
Yeah,
This is
good question.
Iconic.
Yeah, it's a very important role for my career too. I had just done The Mask of Zorro, and I remember it very, very clearly. Because we were finishing up in June. I'd been away for 4 months. Incredible experience. Anthony Hopkins, Antonio Banderas, Catherine Zeta-Jones. You're in this whole. It's a studio film. It's like moving a city. It's incredible, and it's top of the line. Everything is top of the line. We filmed in Mexico City, and you're staying in the Nico, which is one of the exclusive hotels. You're treated very, very well. Much better than you think. Well, is this for me? But anyway, I had just finished that film, and it was June, and I came back to LA, and Stargate was the first audition I had. It's really a great time to audition, because the agents, pitch you for these auditions. Oh, you should see him. He was, well, who is he? Oh, well, he just finished The Mask of Zorro, And so they were very excited to see me. And it's even choice, because the film hasn't been released yet. So it could be a huge hit, or it could be a turkey. It doesn't make a difference. But I feel like they think they're getting more value for their money, because they can get you at the rate, your scale, your money rate right now, that your quote, that may go up if the film is very successful. So I was very lucky, and I got it. And oddly, it was the gift that kept on giving, because there was no talk of it being reoccurring, but I did 26 episodes of this, and it was a terrific experience in Vancouver. Initially, the most exciting thing was going back to Vancouver, which my wife and I had passed through on a kind of vacation, and we fell in love with. And the ability to go back to Vancouver was like, oh, great. Until I realized that character, who is sort of an alien character, is supposed to be 136 years old. At the time, was supposed to be 133. And so I'm thinking, and all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I'm going to be in a makeup chair. How am I going to enjoy Vancouver? I'm going to be in a makeup chair, And so when I went for my costume, I was about ready to escape, and the assistant said, no, the makeup person needs to see you. And I'm thinking, here it comes, 2 a.m. calls, and, which happens, 4 hours in makeup. And I get there, and the makeup, Jan Newman was the makeup key. And she looks at me very, very, looks at me all over. And then she says, oh, you'll be fine as you are. Now I'm insulted. I'm thinking, wait a minute.
No makeup needed.
No makeup needed. And that's the way it worked. And it was just, there was good chemistry between me and Chris Judge, who played, I play my character as a mentor character. And Chris, a regular, Chris Judge, was my mentee. And it's interesting. Sometimes two actors get together. You figure out a backstory and you work and you do this and you create. And Chris, he was the very first person I asked to see when I arrived on set. Who is, where's Chris Judge? Who is Tilk? And I remember walking right by Richard Dean Anderson with no disrespect. It's just that he's the star, Richard Dean Anderson. But this is the guy who's the most important thing in this show to me, to my character. This is the one I need to figure out today. And so I went up to Chris and he looked at me and I looked at him and we just knew that it was going to be good.
That's amazing.
That we were gonna feed each other. And so there's that kind of chemistry. And because of that, they kept writing. And because of that, then Chris started writing for us, for his storyline. Often actors will complain. And so these people, the producers, Brad Wright and other people would say, well, you write it. And often actors won't write it. Well, Chris did. and it was good. And he developed even more stuff. So I ended up doing 26 to Chris, who I just saw recently in the Czech Republic. So it was quite wonderful. It's always lovely to get back in touch with people. Chris is doing The God of War right now. I don't know. Yeah.
And you mentioned the Mask of Zorro. To be a part of that too is
incredible.
Quite special, huh?
Yeah, incredible. And to, as I said, to be going through New York and Philadelphia and stopping to see Anthony Hopkins doing Equus. And for that show, you could sit on the Broadway stage for $5 if you were a student. And that's what I did. And I saw him afterwards. Oddly, I was in a coffee shop waiting for my train connection. And I just briefly went up and said, hey, I'm an actor. I'm a young student actor. And that was just terrific. And shyly walked away. And he said, wait. And he just spoke to me for like 2 minutes. Why are you studying? What are you doing? And all those, questions. And to think, 18 years later, 15 years later, we're working together. It was quite wonderful. Quite wonderful.
Incredible roles too, being involved with Johnny Depp in another one. How'd that come your way?
I auditioned for that, and the audition went very, very well. And the interesting thing about that is the audition, how things change, and you need to be flexible. The guy I auditioned for was originally written. He was sort of a more elegant military guy who was involved in drugs. And but when we got down there was something in the script that didn't really make sense. So Ted Demme and Johnny Depp, they said, hey, we're rewriting everything. So, you're on the day, you're talking and stuff is happening and you just need to be that flexible. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm in a scene with Johnny Depp and I just got the information and it's going to be on film forever. So what could be nervous? What could make you nervous about that? But there was a wonderful adrenaline that came with that, and it worked out fabulously. I loved doing it. I loved working with Johnny. He was very inclusive, and he didn't have to be. He was very, very nice to me.
I'd always heard that he was that type of actor. He was inclusive and welcoming, and
we were in a scene together.
Right.
He wasn't. You could see he was taking what I was giving him, and that was how he was responding. In other words, there was a complete loop, as opposed to some stars. They have it set. You could hit him with a baseball bat, and they would not change anything. Because that's who they are.
It's their routine.
But Johnny Depp, is willing to scratch, which is all you ask.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, this role, this was cool too. The curse.
This was very interesting. This is Annabelle. This is very interesting because, again, oddly, like Blow, this was decided on. This was not in the script, this scene, but they decided that they needed another scare. They needed something, and so on the day, we sort of worked it out and filmed that. And the way it was lit and the makeup, which was minimal, was only shadow, and just vocally, we created this wonderful. Of course, we had the I didn't even wear the contacts. They put that in digitally.
From Annabelle, yeah,
yeah,
that was incredible. That one,
yeah, that's it. And it was a wonderful experience. I did the junket for that, the press junket, which I had never done before. So we went all over the country, and it's hard work, mind you, because you're doing the early morning radio shows, and you're doing the late afternoon television.
Is this the morning look or the late night look?
Right. And we traveled with the doll, by the way. So
you did,
yeah. And they were very clever. They're Warner Brothers. They were very clever because all the press junkets, all the meetings with at that time, influencers. They were using influencers at that time, inviting them in as well, were in locations that had a paranormal past. There was something about the past, an event that occurred there. There was a legend associated with that hotel or something. And so they were very, very clever. And it was very interesting, the whole experience.
It's a great thriller too.
It really is. Well,
that doll, yeah.
That universe, the Conjuring universe, is quite something.
It's a whole other thing.
Yeah. One of the scariest films, The Conjuring, the first film, is very, very scary and well acted. It's
that's a whole genre. They have super fans that love those movies too.
I love psychological horror in a kind of way. I mean, there can be some gore and stuff, but I don't like slasher very much. That's not to say I wouldn't do one.
Me too.
If I can. Right. But it's not much.
I psychological thrillers.
This might be a little bit before your time. Was Rosemary's Baby.
Fantastic one. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that, in that vein. And that's what this was too. I saw it more as a psychological horror film. So.
Exactly right. I prefer that, where you're wondering what's happening and what's going. Mia Farrow, of course, in that, and there were some fantastic actors and actresses in that one. Dexter too. Santos.
Yeah. No, great experience. Again, the first I think it was 3 or 4 episodes.
You did, yeah.
And it's sort of a wonderful. It's a wonderful conceit that it's like Dexter is gone. He's in AA for killing. He's off the killing. So it's the same way you're sort of off the alcohol or off the drugs. He's off the killing. And what was interesting about it, he had a much tougher time than I did. We filmed the bar scene. It was an entire day. It was over 12 hours, just the two of us. And there were no stuntmen in that. They had stuntmen, but we did not use them. It was the two of us beating each other up. The stuntmen were very good. I mean, they helped us in terms of choreography, but any punch, anything, was the two of us. It was a much harder scene for him because I was just defending myself against this stranger. I had no idea who he was, that he's coming after me. For those who don't know, I played the man who killed his mother and made him, who created this need in him that leads him to killing. But for him, it was everything in his power not to kill me at that point, not. And the two of us go at it, with a baseball bat and other objects in a bar, and it was quite something. I was very, very pleased with the work in that. It's iconic. It's very interesting. Occasionally, not that often, but occasionally I get recognized. And a little game I play with myself is when that happens, and I think, oh, they're coming. Who are they coming? I mean, which Tony are they coming? Are they coming from the Stargate Tony?
Right.
Are they coming from the Gepetto Tony? They're very different people, or are they? But it's the Dexter Tonys that are very, very interesting. There's a funny thing.
All the different Tonys, right?
Right. We were at the theater, and there was a little girl looking at me, a little, maybe, I don't know, 11 or something. And she's smiling and then, turning to her parents, and she turns back. And anyway, I go to, get a couple of beverages for my wife and I come back. The little girl is there. And my wife says, after you left, she walked up to me and said to my wife, "Excuse me, are you Mrs. Gepetto?" And my wife looked at her and thought, "Yes, I am Mrs. Gepetto." You're right.
It's like being Mrs. Claus, right?
Yeah.
Being Mrs. Claus.
So
Listen,
that
was
so lucky. Yeah.
a phenomenal role to be in that. Gepetto, Pinocchio, Once Upon a Time. How did that come? You were brilliant in that.
Yeah. I have to credit the Eddie Kitsis and Adam Horowitz, who allowed me to create a Gepetto who wasn't just simply a nice old man with a mustache and sort of a little bumbly. That they allowed me to create a guy where the most important thing in his life was another person. It was a very, very interesting thing of when you're acting, because one of the things I like to ask myself is, which organ does this character come from? And if you look at a person like Kagame in Continuum, it's all very cerebral. The ends justify the mean, and he's sort of a manipulator. But with Gepetto, it's all coming from the heart. It's all coming from the heart. And it was very, very interesting. So consequently, I was able to create someone who could also be very, very fierce in his protection of this boy. Very fierce occasionally. And that was wonderful. Also, oddly, the other thing that touched me, Jim, it's sort of an immigrant experience. For the people that know the show, there's two realities. So every character, every actor played two different realities. They played the reality in the fantasy world. So in that world, Gepetto had Pinocchio. He had a companion. He had a son, the most important thing to him. And he was a happy man because of that. But most of it takes place in a place called Storyville, because there's a curse. And in Storyville, all of the fantasy characters have a different life without the one thing they want. And so I played a guy named Marco, who's a handyman in this small town in Maine, who's rather lonely and sort of, he has no one, and he's an immigrant. So consequently, for me, that was really sort of potent. The notion of, again, of sending Pinocchio through this, in this magic cabinet that makes him escape this devastation that's coming. That farewell was really, really potent to me. And it reminded me, I don't know if you've been to Europe, there's a really wonderful Italian-Argentine sculptor. And he's got all these sculptures that are on coastlines. There's one in the Amalfi, very, very famous. And it's a guy, an immigrant, looking out in the ocean. And he's got a valise, he's got a suitcase in his hand. And you could tell that he's got nothing really, just a shirt. Except right in here, it's empty. It's completely empty. Because he's going to this new world, but he's leaving so much of his feeling, so much of his emotion, so much of his heart in this other place. And that was, being the son of immigrants, that I was able to access that in the work that may not even be in the script. That's what an actor does sometimes. We look for something that rings our bell, that gives us the juice to do the role. That's why we're always looking for juice. We're sort of, we're like cell phones,
Right, exactly. Exactly. You do need that to sustain. You mentioned Continuum too.
Yeah.
Another great character.
Yeah, he was a great character. I was sort of and just the opposite, as I said. I was the heavy in the first season, the mastermind of this group, called Liber8, which was done during the time of God. What was the name of the group that were camping out? What was the movement that we were all camping out? Or I wasn't, but many people camping out in the early 2010s. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. They did it in front of Wall Street. And,
all of that, because
right.
Income inequality, all of those sorts of things that are still very, very potent today. That series was going on. He was the leader of one of those groups who decide the ends justify the means and are willing to, sadly, to use violence to create the change that they believe is necessary.
New life too, to be part of that. Again, your body of work and your scope and breadth of acting prowess and ability is amazing.
Yeah, New Life was a really sort of. It was a first-time director. He hadn't really. This was a big feature for him, and it turned out really, really, really well. Again, a guy who's on the wrong side of the fence. Yeah, the character I played was manipulative and involved in things that he should. Excuse me, I'm just adjusting the light because we're getting into darkness here. Involved in some things he shouldn't have been involved in.
The darkness is kind of cool with some of the characters you're talking about.
Ooh, okay. Okay. I love, by the way, who did your opening? Who is that drawing?
I had that custom designed.
It's really wonderful. I really, really enjoyed
that. In the genie bottle here.
Yes,
genie bottle really and some characters from television. And we had worked on that, and a friend of mine does illustration, and he was working on all the Betty Boop for Broadway and Betty Boop characters and everything else. And I asked him, we want to change the open, and this is a couple of years ago already. We want to change the open to something new and fresh, and I had already had the music selected, and what would we like to do? And he said retro is in right now, so I'm going to do a retro logo kind of a design, and we'll do sort of this retro, like that design there, retro.
That's exactly what I thought it was. That's exactly
a retro design. And I said, that's fantastic, whatever you say, because you're the master illustrator. And he designed that, and I loved it. And then I said, is there any way we can have it pop out of the screen in the moving open? And he said, I'm an illustrator, not an animator. I don't know if I can really do that, but my daughter is working on things for the Tonight Show and all of that right now. She is a young animator. Maybe I can get her to take the illustration and have it pop out of the screen. And she did, and she animated it so it pops out. And the first part, when it's sketching the sketch, which is of the genie bottle and of the logo, they're two separate elements. That was something he sent to me a while ago. And I said, hey, can we attach that to the beginning when you did that? The giveaway, people think it's me doing it. And I studied drawing and all kinds of stuff, architecture and everything. I said, and design, but the giveaway is I'm left-handed and he's right-handed. So you can see but we used that for the show open with the music and all, and it worked out.
It's fabulous.
Worked out
because exactly that is a retro feel to it.
But the thing is, we're living in an age now where people don't even want it open. They just want you to get right to the thing.
The hell
they don't even want to sit through a show open. They don't want, years ago when you watch TV and movies, it was that open, or you watch the credits with that theme song, or, when you heard the theme to the Dick Van Dyke Show, you would hum it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Now it's all bring it on, and
don't cave. Don't cave.
Do it in 6 seconds. If you don't grab them in 6 seconds, they're out. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The Susan Sarandon, The Meddler.
Yeah. I have to say she was just very, very available, just very, very nice. We spent the whole day sitting around a table, eating. That was the scene, the whole scene, is that we, I play one of four brothers. She ended up marrying one of four brothers, and it was just marvelous. It was, and oddly, it was sort of very loosely based on the director-writer's own mother, who followed her to L.A. So I thought,
The Devil's Candy is another.
oh no, that's this is. I have to warn people. This is very good if you like very.
This is a
Very
dark
dark.
sort of.
This is dark.
This is really.
This is very dark. So don't go there if you're looking for a Saturday night popcorn movie.
Yeah, if you're looking for a Walt Disney flick, it's not going to be. Green Lantern being a part of this is spectacular too.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just again, I love Jim going from I'm going to do a play. No, I'm going to go do a movie. Hey, guess what? The other thing we haven't talked about is mocap.
Oh yes,
some of this stuff is voice, but like the Star Wars is all mocap, which is the little dots, and it sort of captures your motion and stuff. It's great fun because you're in this silly leotard. Nothing exists. You're sitting on reinforced cardboard or, a naked wood, and, and you're imagining this sort of environment. It's really, really sort of wonderful. And you have to sort of move along. I think, sometimes I go into colleges or, even professional acting classes, and people will say, the question, people often ask me for advice. And the first thing I asked them is, I said, well, do you want to be an actor or do you want to be a star? They're very, very different things. I mean, stardom can come through the acting route, but it can also be very, very different. Because if you want to be an actor, it involves studying. You really, really need to find someone who speaks your language, or you're willing to learn their language. And they, the thing they want to know is also, how do you sustain a career? If I had my answer to that, but I don't have anyone else's answer. And part of my answer to that was, on some level, not even imagining that I wanted to be in LA when I was, 25. That was never, ever the dream. And as a matter of fact, when I graduated from acting school, I wrote something that said, professional acting work, East Coast. Well, it didn't turn out that way. It was professional acting work, West Coast, but I settled for that. I'm not complaining. But everyone has to find their own way. But I will say that I think the theater is very important. I think the theater is very important for you to understand, to touch your roots, to be part of a profession that goes back 2,500 years. There's something remarkable that if you're doing a Shakespeare play and you're about, say, again, I remember this specifically when I was doing Othello and I was playing Iago. And I remember being backstage before opening night, and you're a little jumpy. You're a little jumpy. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, I wonder how the first actor who played Iago felt. I'm feeling the same thing probably he felt. Because we know the great Shakespeare actor Burbage played Othello. He didn't play Iago. By the way, Iago's a better part.
Is theater your first love? Is that still
I would say at this point, I like the theater. I'm grateful for the theater. I wouldn't be who I am without the theater. But the theater's tough. Yes. What I mean is you're doing 8 shows a week. That's tough as you get older. You know what I mean? That's tough. And also, I still do it.
Aren't you a founding member of the Antaeus Theater Company?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And and I do the theater route. And sometimes I shake my head. I just before the pandemic, I had done back-to-back. I did. It was a new version of Murder on the Orient Express, playing Poirot, and then right afterwards, I finally got a chance to do Salieri and Amadeus. I was so happy to have had a chance to do, but those were heavy lifts. They're heavy. It's just, you love it, but you're just fried. Friday night, you're doing one. Okay, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, just one show. Friday night, you do a show. Saturday, you do two. Sunday, you do two. And guess what? You have one day off. Monday, one. And after a while, you think, oh my God. And frankly, the other thing is, I'm closer to the end than I am to the middle or the beginning now. So I don't say that morbidly in any way. I'm very, very grateful. But I need to be careful of how I use my time. And I need to sit down and decide what I want to do with the guesstimate of the years I have left. For instance, I just, as I said, I was in the Czech Republic, but I took 2.5 weeks and went to Florence and just studied language and hung out in Florence. Probably as a younger actor, I wouldn't have done that because guess what? You're not available.
You're hustling.
You can't audition.
Got to keep going. Get the name
you're
out.
always here. It's the golden handcuff, the golden manacle. You might lose something, and I don't want to live my life that way anymore. I've done that, and it was necessary. I think when you're young, you need to do that. But now, at my age, I really don't want to. There's a lot more traveling I want to do, and the other thing is I'm still quite. I have my memory. I have my, I can still move pretty well, but that's not going to last. So when you travel, you want to do that now, as opposed to waiting towards the end. And again, not in any way to be morbid.
No,
to be realistic.
Maximizing every moment, every precious moment, because as we know, life is short and it's fleeting and there's no warranties or guarantees. So maximizing it. Yeah. And, you've opened yourself up to these extraordinary abilities, and it's really amazing when you take a look at the amount of voice work you do too, like voicing a character like this. I mean, you're very... Yes, right, exactly. Warcraft. Yeah. This is like, how did the voice, this whole animated world of video for you? And again, that's an iconic, there are people probably watching right now who are excited that we're at the part where we're mentioning this, because of there's a fan base of people who love video game characters, animated characters, cartoon characters. You see it if you ever go to those Comic Cons and conventions. There's lines of people who come up to folks like you that are like, oh, I love your voice in this. You bring these characters to life. When did the voiceover part come in for you? Not very, very late. The interesting thing is I cross generations. Right now, it's the Wild West in Hollywood, meaning there are no lanes. It's like driving on a freeway where drive anywhere you want. And there used to be lanes. When I first arrived here in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and into the 2000s, you were a television actor, a film actor, a voice actor, a commercial actor. And it's not to say there wasn't some bleeding, but, if you were a commercial actor, you weren't going to become a star in film, let's say, more than likely, right? If you but now you can be in anything. And so I read about exactly what you said about how much of the industry was involved in video games and the incredible growth. And to many studios, it's the most profitable part of their business model. It's not television, it's not film, it's video games. And so I thought, I guess I better get involved. And so I sought out a voice agent. I was very, very lucky to get one. And guess what? That Khadgar from World of Warcraft was my first audition. Wow.
I'm still doing that role.
Of course.
Yes. And That was my
Yes.
first audition. So it was such a blessing, and you learn. And again, that led me to mocap. The two Star Wars video games, Fallen Order and Survivor, and Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor, which were great fun, and even and again, I never imagined I would do commercial work, nor it just wasn't done. But then gradually you realize, no, it is done. All you got to do is see Samuel Jackson or see, I mean, the number of stars that are.
What's in your wallet, right?
Yes. God bless him. So you need, getting back to the person who asked, when I was saying, when I'd go to school, how do you maintain longevity, is that you need to be flexible. You need to recreate yourself. You really do. You need to, and not be afraid to sort of jump on sort of new areas, because while in the past it's been, again, fixed lanes, you don't do that if you want to be that. That's not true. The theater, the theater is very important. Antius company that I was a founding member of and still am a part of, it's the name comes from, I don't know, were you ever a fan of Hercules, those movies?
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Okay. You remember Hercules in his trials? There was a guy, all of a sudden he's coming, and there's this little hairy guy, and he's much smaller than Hercules, and he sort of challenges Hercules, and Hercules says, get out of here, and he just tosses him, and the guy goes up, hits the ground, and gets up, and he's stronger, he's changed. And this happens, and that was Antaeus. Antaeus is an earth spirit.
Right.
And the only way Hercules could kill him was to lift him off and squeeze the air out of him, keep his feet off the ground. And the image, the reason that was chosen by a guy named, who was the creator, I was a founding member, named Dakin Matthews, who I mentioned earlier, with some other people, because it was dedicated to a group of actors who got their inspiration from the theater while they continued doing film and television. But the image is of an actor with his hand on the ground reaching up at the sky, and that's where that came from. So the theater will always be a part of my identity, even when I no longer do it. But I try to do at least one play a year, at least. Obviously, the pandemic made it very difficult.
You ever write, in screenplays or write?
Nah, I wish I did, and I think in part
produce, direct, those
I've
things.
directed. Yeah. I've directed a fair amount of theater. I went back and ended up directing in Oregon, directing a Shakespeare out in that theater at Berkeley Rep. I did a number of things. I've done many workshops and stage readings and stuff here, and hope to actually do a play in LA, because it's funny, I'll be working on a play and you get frustrated, and I say, well, why am I getting so frustrated? My wife says, well, you're getting frustrated because you want to direct it. You don't want to act in it. And she really took me aback one time. And I realized, you're absolutely right.
She knows, right? Exactly.
She does. I don't know. There was one other thing that was I was very, very lucky. I ended up doing a play. I was in LA less than a month. So I had left. As I said, I was a shark up in the Bay Area in San Francisco, and I just was killing it work-wise. I could not find time to take a vacation, doing great roles. I mean, great, challenging, life-changing roles, one after the other. But then decided that, okay, I needed to test the waters here. And all of a sudden I went from being a shark to being a minnow, to being nothing. And I went to see a play with a friend, with Dakin, who had a friend who was in a play called Tamara. And Tamara was the grandfather of all the environmental plays where you follow people around the house. Tony and Tina's Wedding. And all that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
This was serious. This was a play that was about sexual politics. And the Tamara was Tamara dell'Impizca. who was a Polish artist, the blonde in the roadster driving, Deco, all that stuff. And I ended up getting cast in that play. Now, the reason I mention it is I didn't have an agent. So it sustained me till I did all the things I needed to find an agent. I needed to get situated. I need to find a circle of friends, a neighborhood. And more importantly, in this play, they would follow you from room to room. And it was an Italian villa just below the Hollywood Bowl. There's an American Legion, and they renovated it for something like close to $1 million. It was extraordinary as an Italian villa in the 30s. And but in this play, you'd go from room to room. It was only 100 people. And it was quite a high-end ticket. You'd go from room to room, and each room had a scent. I mean, that's how peculiar it was, based on real people and real events. And so it was the most amazing training for film and television you could ever imagine. Why? Because people would follow you into an enclosed space, and you had blocking, meaning stuff that you had to do and accomplish that was set, but they could be anywhere. So you had to constantly adjust. You had to adjust to people coming right up to you and sort of looking at you, just like a camera. So you had to find the intimacy and the concentration that was very, very useful when I ended up doing film and television.
That's incredible.
I was very, very lucky. I had forgotten tomorrow. And I ended up doing that. I was involved with it for 5 years, but did it for 2.5, because when you got another role, you could leave. And if you were doing film and television, they'd let you go do your film and television. So it was the most amazing job to keep your acting chops up while you were still pursuing film and television. And so you couldn't beat that.
You can always do that in other careers and other jobs for sure, right?
Yeah.
I remember with us too, like folks that were going into news and journalism, at that point, you couldn't do commercials. You couldn't do game shows. You couldn't do any of that kind of stuff because you were a news person. You were in the news journalistic part. And then that started to loosen up. And then you see people doing game shows and entertainment shows and commercials for things now. And like you said, the lanes are erased. Everybody is doing really everything, which is quite amazing. We have our hands in all these different things, which is incredible. None of us is a Lone Star anymore.
That's right. Lone Star, good movie.
Yeah, and you were in it.
No, I said,
that's a good one.
For me, the way Woody Allen movies during the 80s and stuff, everyone looked forward to a movie. Lone Star, the director writer was John Sayles, Mate One, 8 Men, just all these, really Secaucus 7, Brother from Another Planet, just amazing. It was a dream to think, get a chance to work with John Sayles, and then it happened. And what was odd, it was a good thing it happened when it did, because, actors, sometimes you feel like you're a crossword puzzle with a missing piece, and that someone else you're going to get it somewhere else. You're going to get it from a director. You feel incomplete. And all of a sudden, I was wise enough or experienced enough to know that I went on the set, Chris Christopherson, Chris Cooper too. Oh my God. All my scenes were with Chris Cooper. Before, we'll talk about salt of the earth and a great actor.
That's,
And John, in all the time I was there, said one word, changed one thing. He said, well, if you're going to say that, say this word. That's the only note he gave me the entire time I was there. Now, a young actor might get nervous and think, oh my God, he doesn't like me, he doesn't want to direct me. Why isn't he? It's just the opposite. All of a sudden, he has confidence in you. He knows what you're going to bring. He has other fish to fry. He's directing a movie, so you realize I was, after initially thinking, going through all the actor stages that you go through. And I thought to myself, hey, what about if he actually likes what you're doing? Did you ever consider that? And in fact, that's what it was. And it's a good movie. about relations at the border in Texas, Mexico. Quite a good movie, I think.
There's two things that I really like that you've been able to do during this, not interview, but conversation, as I call them, bringing back the larger sort of conversation. One is sustain and not lose any ounce of concentration while there were lawnmowers going outside. And you're doing some doodle or scribble or something each time, and you come back to it and I hear it, and it's almost like an ASMR kind of a sound. It's really nice. But are you working on something?
No, I'm just doodling. You're absolutely right.
You are. I think it's cool how you're. Oh, look, wait, there it is. Here's a new character he's going to voice. Debuted exclusively on the Jim Masters show. Let's see it.
Right. Actually, it sort of looks a little bit like, they talked about Dick Van Dyke being the sock man.
Yeah, let's see it again.
Oh, no, it's not good. It's not. I don't doodle. I don't doodle.
He did that in the time that we just started, folks. He's drawing as he's talking. I mean, he's multi. Talk about no lanes, I tell you. I know you got a lot going on, Tony. I don't want to keep you too long, but we always say we keep the porch light on for all of our fabulous guests. And one of the things that happened when I started this series many moons ago, our Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series, was in the early days of the pandemic. And I had said that the show has a lot of light, love, and levity. People needed to hear that. And it's what I like to deliver anyway, but people really needed to hear that, especially in that really rough moment in all our lives during that crazy time. And somehow I slipped up. I say this to the guests and to the viewers. I slipped up one time and I said, yeah, the show has a lot of light, love, levity. And the next time I said it, yeah, the show has a lot of light, levity. And somehow I skipped over love and levity, combined them, love and levity, and it became levity. So what happened from there, Tony? The viewers jumped on that. And the viewers said, what did you just say? Effective that night, you're Mr. Levity. This is Levity Hall, our studio here. The guests are part of the Levity family, and we are your Levity squad. How cool is that? So you're a Levity.
Part of it. Thank you. I'm a Levity. I didn't know. Do I get a T-shirt with a big L on it?
That's what we're working on. We are working on that, and we've got to get that out there. Mugs, shirts, everything. Some sort of because there's Oscars and there's Tonys and there's Emmys and there's Grammys and there's Clios and there's Tellys. There's everything. But when you get a Levity and you're considered a Levity on the Jim Master Show, is that not the pinnacle of your career? All this blood, sweat, and tears and running around and moving to LA. That is sort of a full circle moment. I'm
thinking.
Yeah, most people, I guess, they say their feet start tingling.
Is that what that is? Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, you don't need to go to the doctor, podiatrist. It's part of the Levity thing.
Listen, it's been a pleasure. So I hope I continue working so I can revisit with you some other time. But anyway, I thank you for the invite and thank you for your hospitality, and thank you to the fans. I hope they enjoy the podcast.
The pleasure is all mine. Keep up the incredible work. Thanks for entertaining us and inspiring us and making us think and laugh and cry and just really soak up life through all of your brilliant performances in film and television and the stage and voice work as well. And I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you, Tony.
Yeah, and we have to share that pizza sometime.
We've got to share the pizza. Absolutely. We'll keep that on the list. We know where each other is. And I really appreciate your taking time and the generosity of time to join us here on the show. It was really a pleasure for me, and I hope it was for you.
It was. Thank you.
You be well, okay, my friend, and best of the holidays to you and the family, and stay safe and enjoy, and we'll see you on the next one, okay?
Take care. All the best. Happy holidays.
You as well. Thanks, Tony.
Bye-bye.
Tony Amendola joining us here on the Jim Masters Show. Truly an iconic figure in television, film, and stage. He has been doing this for some 40 years or so, and incredible. You've seen him on so many of your favorite TV shows, movies, a great character actor, voice of a lot of those video games and animated characters as well. This was the very first one, he said, and he's still voicing this for Warcraft. Some incredible facial expressions too, right, on some of these characters. That's from Annabelle, he said, and just amazing work. Truly unbelievable stuff. Good stuff, right? Nice guy from the East Coast. Of course, this is from Stargate. That's, that franchise is amazing. And again, Tony Amendola, legendary, award-winning actor, who has really graced us with his presence on this episode of the Jim Masters Show, or what here, huh? Really great conversation and a real pleasure to have him here on the show. And he will be back. We said we're going to go for some pizza together. He's an East Coast guy originally, so when he's visiting his family, we're here in the New York area. So when he's visiting East, we're going to go out and get a couple of slices of pizza. If you enjoyed this, matter of fact, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Jim Masters TV. And if you enjoyed this, everybody, well, good to have you here. We love having our viewers here. We appreciate all of you. Thanks for the comments as well coming in during the show's airing. Feel free to drop a comment below. We welcome you to do that. Give this episode a thumbs up like. There's a thumbs up icon. It really helps us grow. It helps these episodes be seen by more people. When you like it, when you share the episode link on your social media, when you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, come join the Jim Masters Show family. We love having you here. And drop a comment below. If there's something that we discussed that you enjoyed, hopefully the whole show, and if there's something maybe that you recognize him from, whether it's his incredible voice, he's got a great voice, doesn't he? As well as his work on stage, film, and television in years and years of shows and movies. Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you, and it really helps us know that you're enjoying what we're doing here at the Jim Masters Show. Don't forget to love one another, take care of one another, and don't forget in these crazy times to do the same for yourself. It's really important to do that. Come see us again here. We'll keep all the lights on and the porch light on for you here at the Jim Masters Show. Always a pleasure to have you here. I hope you enjoyed this episode and you enjoy all of our series. And you can archive or go back in our archives, rewind back and see all the past episodes and enjoy yourself. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Don't go anywhere. Another great episode of the Jim Masters Show, entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series comes up next, right here. Don't touch that dial, as they say. We love having you here. Appreciate you being here and your enthusiasm and love and support of our show. It means a great deal. All right. This is the host. Got to go get a snack. Another show comes up. Stay right there. I'll see you soon. We love you all. Take care and be well. And cheers.